Unmute. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Greyhawk channel, where we're getting ready to go with City of the Gods here. And it's been a bit, so let's see if I can remember what I'm doing when I start. But we've got City of the Gods on the Greyhawk channel. So we're going to get started with that story, continuing it after a hiatus because of Gen Con and things like that. But want to start off with a thank you to our various supporters and sponsors. So want to, of course, thank you to all the Patreon supporters out there and the Twitch subscribers. You guys keep the Greyhawk channel going strong so that lots of shows can be done on the channel. We've got the summer season getting ready to head off here in like 3 weeks. So, and there's already a lot going on there, plus all the stuff that's been going on. Did I say summer, fall, whatever? Yeah. It's summer right now, but the fall season is about to get started on the Greyhawk channel. So definitely thank you to you guys. You keep things going. And then we've got Roll20. Is official supported, or the Greyhawk channel is officially supported by Roll20, and of course Roll20 is free at roll20.net. It is one of the leading virtual tabletops, which is what we'll be using. You can see the rolls directly below me right there, and the maps that we'll be using and all that. So that's all on Roll20. They've got literally hundreds of character sheets already set up for lots of games that you can find and just start using right away. Our sponsors are Heroic Maps. You'll see some of the backdrops and backgrounds and maps that we're using a little bit today and in past shows, but they've got over 300 maps on DriveThruRPG. So if you just go to DriveThruRPG and search for Heroic Maps, you can find all of them, or you can type in that nice long HTML link that's on the screen. But they've got all sorts of settings, so fantasy, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, modern, all that sort of stuff. You can find lots of different battle maps to use. Tabletop Loot has awesome dice and accessories, so you can also get 15% off your dice orders at tabletoploot.com by entering in Greyhawk, capital G, capital H. Grey is spelled with an E, not an A. But yeah, they've got lots of cool dice. I've gotten dice from them in the past. And so yeah, go check them out. And also, and our other sponsors are Rue Inc. She does awesome maps and illustrations. She is a cartographist. Is that the right pluralization of that? Cartographer. I don't know why I said ist. But anyways, she is pretty cool. I've actually am a supporter of her too, and so she has a cartography course on her website, plus lots of cool maps. The black and whites are pretty much always free, and then you can purchase some of the colored ones as well. So, and she's got a pretty cool community over on her Discord as well. So if you are a Patreon supporter or a Twitch subscriber, if you go to the Greyhawk channel's Discord, you can get a special area that will give you special codes for Rue Inc., as well as our other sponsor, Cantrip Candles, to get discount codes when you order from them. And so Cantrip Candles is, actually I haven't lit mine yet, but I've got a new scent recently that I am enjoying. It's a walk in the woods. So they've got really cool candles. So we'll do a nice dragon flame here to light it. But lots of good smelling candles, lots of different scents. You can see Casey with one right there. So I definitely recommend them. They're all natural soy and handmade and all that. So definitely check them out for some good ambiance, whether you are playing a game or if you're like writing some stuff or getting things ready. And then, of course, like I mentioned, there is the Discord for the Greyhawk channel, so you can enter that link in and you'll be able to join the Discord right away. There are, like I said, some sections that are just for the supporters, and that gives special discount codes and some other cool stuff. So that's all of our sponsors and supporters. Let's learn a little bit about who the lovely people on the screen are. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself and your character We've got Eris. Or do we have Eris?
Hello. I don't know if am I frozen?
Yeah, you're good now. You were for a second.
I seem to be fading out. Yeah, I was trying to open Twitch to look at chat, but it's not working. So we're gonna not. Hi, I'm Eris Savad. I'm a hula hooping seamstress who plays a lot of RPGs. And today I'm playing Talia Kiekwin. She is a high elf arcane historian. She's not really fit for battle, really, but she uses the sunlight energy to kind of, help control the battlefield and move things around if she needs to. And she's a very curious sort, but she gets into trouble a lot. Yeah.
That's one way to word it.
You may have almost died last time.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Then we have...
I'm sure there will be no consequences from that.
I'm sure it's all fine. Everything's good. And we have Leica.
Hi, name's Blyle Leica, and I'll be playing Luska, the druidic orc here.
And you have a companion too.
Ah yes, and Glomus, the woolly hog.
Yeah, can't forget Glamis. And then we have Casey.
Hey, I'm Casey. Casey H on social media is where you can find me. I'm playing Roach the Necro Ninja. She is a reanimated patchwork living corpse type creature who is generally perturbed.
And last but not least, we have Derek.
Hi everyone, I am Derek Sword. Yes, that is my real last name. Yes, it is awesome, and unfortunately, no, you cannot have it. You can find me on social media at dsword16. I am dealing with some computer updates right now, so I will be at least doing the screen stuff through my phone, and hopefully my second set of updates is at 4%. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and I
will be playing Orion, the Golden Dragonborn Paladin.
Indeed. Let me do this real quick. So, Casey, I did give you access to Orion's sheet. Try not to... Oh, wait, you might not be able to see it, though.
I cannot see it.
So I should probably give you ability to have it in your journal, too. That helps.
Burn everything.
All right, now can you see it?
Let me reload.
Okay. Yeah, so is there somebody who would like to recap a little bit what craziness you guys did last session? I guess it wasn't too crazy.
Does somebody else want to tell the story? Because if I tell it from Talia's perspective, it's going to say one thing.
I can try it. I think it would be unfair to make Casey do it.
Y'all almost died.
You almost died. You weren't even there. So in our last session, which was a couple of weeks back, we had been, I guess, hospitality mixed with kidnapping. So we were nicely kidnapped by the Sand Folk, and they basically gave us a place to stay, gave us shelter. We're generally non-threatening. While we were in their camp, just exploring, Luthka decided to check out their giant lizard mounts, which, remind me what those were called?
Camarillas.
Camarillas. Which she found to be welcoming to her, and also she felt a general sense of comfort being around this being of nature. While that was going on, Orion and Talia chose to speak with one of the tribes members of the Sand people, Sand folk, who tried to instigate Orion into a pit fight unsuccessfully. Whether that's for good or bad, we'll find out. As evening took its course, the party began to rest, only to be awakened as the Sandfolk were under attack. They gathered around the chief of the Sandfolk, who informed them that they weren't required to fight. Orion took that as passive-aggressive and ran off to fight, only to have the rest of the party attacked by assassins. Talia fell like a sack of potatoes. And the assassins quickly surrounded the chief as they just whittled away at his health. We were successful in saving the chief, saving Talia, saving everybody, and killing off the assassins. But I think everyone now has a general sense of discomfort, maybe guilt, maybe fear. I think the party might be a little unsettled as they perhaps try to find a guide on their way to the city of the gods.
Yeah, that's pretty good summary of it. Yeah, there was. I just love how Derek ran away, and then his charge got felled.
Like, stay here, you'll be safe. You got the four-armed chieftain and everyone else.
Yep. So, and Denal himself nearly died, but you did do that saving defend interrupt to stop the finishing blow. So that was good. So you guys, it's the aftermath here. There's a couple other interesting things that Talit, Derek, who can't get his phone to stay standing, it can't handle your beautiful face, Derek, is what's going on. So
that must be it. That has to be it.
So
you need 3 cardboard boxes.
I needed 3 cardboard boxes.
So Orion did hear something interesting while the fighting was going on. There's kind of the sound that the Sunflame wand makes, right? The blaster, basically. And there's a more powerful one that you heard in battle. I don't know if you recall that from last session or not.
Right, the shoulder mounted.
Yes, because you had noticed a few of the Sandfolk carried that when they acquired you and escorted you from the caravan to this place. So that might be a little bit on his mind, though. Of course, the fact that he let his charge fall in battle recently might be more on his mind. But I just wanted to remind you, the player, that is the thing that Orion is aware of and interested in. So yeah, right now, the last of these has fallen. The giant polar bear, or it's not a polar bear, but it is in the picture. But Luthka in bear form, she's gone and charged and took out the last one as it was retreating, with Talia aiding by immobilizing, I think, 2 of them. So they ended up being felled. So yeah, you've got Denel's up. He's breathing heavily. There's lots of cuts on him, obviously from these lethal assassin strikes that were going on. And yeah, so that's where you guys are. We've got an invisible roach up in the corner. And the fighting in the distance, sometime shortly after this little ambush happened, that fighting seemed to have died down or stopped. And, if you look in the distance, you can maybe see a bunch of the Sandfolk starting to come back from wherever they were fighting, where Orion was initially heading out to. So that's where we're at.
I think at this point, Talia's just kind of like on her hands and knees in the dirt, just breathing heavily, like hanging her head, like, oh shit, bleeding from various wounds. But I mean, So technically I have 3 lethal damage, but for some reason my hit points are at max.
Yeah, because lethal will automatically reduce your maximum.
Okay.
So your maximum is normally 20, but because you have 3 lethal, it's only 17.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so bleeding out of various wounds and just like shaking all over. She kind of melted after everything ended. She let the energy disperse and just...
Yeah, Danelle is looking pretty rough because he's got 24 lethal damage right now.
I would love to turn invisible and then run over to Talia and just hug her.
All right, so we see Roach's form materializing. You can suddenly see as Roach runs over to Talia, who currently is next to a ginormous bear.
I think Orion's walking over to Talia too. He's not rushing. I think he's kind of hanging his head a little bit. He's definitely disappointed in himself, but he still knows that he's got to make sure that at least she's okay.
Okay. I'm okay. That was tiring.
Did real good.
I'm really, really sorry.
I mean, there's no way you could have known. The fighting was over there.
Yeah, it's just you were over here. I mean, I can't. You don't seem. I can't go back without you. Like, you know that, right?
I mean, things happen, all right? And if I die, it's not your fault.
I just don't see it that way. But
You and I see the world a little differently, I think.
that's probably fair. But yeah, no, I promised your father a long time ago. I just can't go back without you in one piece. I think that's I promised him, I swore to him, and I'm not going to break that promise. So from now on, there's no more running off. I promise I'll always be by your side.
You could always compromise. I mean, I'm only half alive. It works. You could do the same.
True, if you want to pull off gross parts of your body and throw them at people, there's
It's
an option.
useful.
So Brother Richard is walking around and checking on people and providing some aid and healing where needed. Though since most of it's a little bit more deadly damage, it's something that will take a little bit more time. And I think about this time, there's a couple like runners that come up to report to Danelle, and they look surprised at the bodies and the fact that he's damaged. So they're talking quickly in Sandfolk speech, while you guys are kind of all gathering together. What is Luthka doing at this point?
Luthka is a bear.
So just doing all the bear things.
Yeah.
And you did not have Glamis during this encounter because Glamis was over with the horses.
Right, yes.
Because the Camarillas, besides thinking that Derek and Talia looked tasty, also thought that Glamis looked tasty.
Yeah. Just that didn't seem like a good mix.
I mean, Talia is smaller than Glamis, so
It's true.
it's like Talia's the snack and Glamis is the main course.
Well, one's easier to get in one swallow versus having to tear apart the other one, right? So
Yeah, I gotta take a couple bites for Glamis. Oh, I'm sorry, that was terrible. Anyways.
Yeah, I think the Baron's come over and puts his hand on your shoulder, Orion, and says, "You did well. You shouldn't worry. We can't always be everywhere at once."
It's true. We were lucky, I think, this time. I think next time, who knows? So let's just try to be a little better prepared, and we learn from our mistakes, right?
Always.
Can't get better if you don't make mistakes to learn by.
So, does that happen often around here?
Are you asking this of Denal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the guys he's talking with kind of finishes and runs off, and he, despite some of the grievous wounds he's holding, I think for some of you he has more lethal damage than you do HP, but he walks over, doing his best to not limp and stay upright as he plants his ceremonial glaive, I think is what I described it as before. Can't remember if that's what it is, but his ceremonial weapon he plants back into the sand, and taking a deep breath. No, that is not normal, but we have been troubling the froggies recently.
Are you okay?
He nods, even though it's probably very obvious he's not.
Do you have good healers here?
He nods his head slowly, says, "We are resilient."
Well, that's good.
GM, remind me, lethal damage can only be gotten rid of by, like, resting, right? Like,
Pretty much, yeah. There is a feat that allows you to have normal healing, but it takes an hour if you have the extraordinary healing feat, which I believe Brother Richard does have, but let me double check. I might not have been that nice. I can't remember.
But otherwise, like, Orion's heal only deals with normal damage, not lethal damage.
Right, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was nice enough to give him extraordinary healing for you guys. But if he is around while you are recuperating in the evening, then his creation score aids in how much lethal damage you recover. Because you recover your lethal damage in your fortitude score, minimum of 1. So if you have 0 fortitude, you still recover 1 overnight, basically. And then if you have a healer or somebody that's proficient at helping with that, then they can help you recover more based on their score.
I noticed that they were really intent on trying to kill you in particular. Maybe they think that that'll break your camp?
It would certainly have many repercussions in leadership.
Is there somebody that maybe they would try to replace you with? Or somebody that would want to be your replacement?
The froggies would have no sway in that matter.
Well, regardless, I think she makes a good point. Is there anyone in your camp who's been trying to get rid of you, who might be more friendly towards the froggies, might be able to use the froggies?
Orion, go ahead and roll either an exploding d6 or your presence for luck.
Mind doing that for me, Casey?
Well, I mean, it makes sense because
well,
they
and
knew
so
exactly
just to
what you
interrupt,
looked like.
the reason I'm having that roll is to see if Baron interrupts this conversation before it continues.
Do you want the D6 or do you want the presence? You've got higher. The D6 would be higher.
Go ahead and do the D6.
Okay.
I trust my shoot in your hands.
Okay, that's a pretty good roll. So when you start to like suggest that, Orion, Baron kind of puts his hand on your shoulder and he says, "Of course, we understand there would be no one who would do that in your tribe."
Of course.
And I mean, you can keep going with the conversation if you want to, but Baron is clearly purposely interrupting that line of conversation.
Okay.
And yeah,
Talia will take the hint.
okay. Danelle kind of nods. He says, "Yeah, the Froggies. There would be no allies of them here. You have done well as warriors tonight. I am impressed with your prowess. You should return and rest. We will make sure there are some extra guards in case such an incursion is attempted again." But he looks over at the various bodies strewn about. "I do not think they will be attempting again too soon." Let's see, how would he phrase this? Says, "In the morning, I think you have all proven yourselves worthy that I would be willing to perform the rite of adoption into our tribe. Think of it." And then he turns and starts to walk away into his own tent.
I guess we're not allowed to ask questions about that.
The Baron says, we should probably return to our tents and perhaps talk and rest."
Yeah, you tell me what you know. You know things.
He does know a few things, and you guys do have two uses of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So is Luthka Bear gonna stay outside? Are you gonna join this conversation that they're planning to have in the tent, or what is Luthka's plan here?
I think Luthka's going to go check up on Glomus first.
Sure. And that's easy enough. You can head over to good old Glomus there. And Glomus is with other horses. They seemed the horses definitely seem rattled because there was definitely the loud noises and the fighting that was going on, but there was no fighting near them. So they all seem fine. I don't know how Glomus would have reacted to all the noises, but Glomus is there with water and oats and stuff that the horses are eating. I don't know if Glomus would eat that or not.
Glomus will eat just about anything, I think. It's that's the benefit of pigs and stuff.
Right, yeah, they do eat just about anything. I hear they're an excellent way to hide bodies you've killed. Just feed them to the pigs.
Gonna keep my mouth shut on that.
So yeah, Glomus seems fine. Are you going to stay with Glomus for a while?
Yeah, I think until prompted to continue traveling or to join a discussion or something.
Oh, if we don't see the Bork, I'll send my hand out to go get her, and you'll see the hand crawling at you and be like, and crawl back.
So yeah, there is the severed hand that comes up to you, Luthka. You probably recognize it, but it seems to be motioning you.
Okay, I follow it.
Are you remaining in bear form for right now?
Sure, until it's needed to become an orc or something else again.
All right, cool. So the four of you are gathered in your tent with a large bear. So you're
How crowded is this tent?
I mean, it's a pretty big tent. It's again, the 5 feet that you normally occupy in a grid is because you're moving around within those 5 feet to perform fighting and stuff. So you can obviously, fit in a smaller space because the tent itself is like a 10, 12 foot by 12 foot, something like that tent. So,
right.
I mean, it's not like you're not squished, but it's probably not the most comfortable with a giant bear in there as well. But there's definitely room for you all to like lay down normally without a bear. But you're standing right now, so.
Talia sits on a bed.
And of course, by bed we mean like a mat on the floor.
Yeah,
But-
whatever. She sits down.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are probably your hearts are still probably thumping, adrenaline, starting to ebb out. There's probably some wineskins that are handed around, so that you can.
What do they mean by adopted into the tribe? Does it hurt? What kind of ritual is it? Is there anything?
Why wouldn't you let us talk about their pecking order?
There's
so many questions. I can't even keep
Sure.
up with Talia's mouth today.
So Baron will answer your question, Casey. He says it would be a great insult to even suggest the disloyalty of the Sandfolk. They are.
Now do hers.
It is very unlikely that they would do that. There's always possibilities, but I have never heard of such a thing among the Sandfolk happening.
I've never heard such a thing as a completely loyal tribe.
Same. Every great or even small civilization has at least one outlier. Eventually.
It's naive to think otherwise.
Don't get me wrong, there are definitely those who might wish to usurp the current leader within the tribe, but to do such things with outsiders is very unheard of. Again, not everything is certainly possible.
I guess that means that it's our fault. That's the only thing left. The only reason left after that is that they were attacked because they're helping us. Because we're here. But that didn't explain why they went for Danelle.
Because if they killed Danelle, then the rest of the tribe could easily blame us and kill us. Or do whatever they want with us.
If Danelle died, most likely we would be dead as well. Or hunted.
Those of us who can't turn invisible and run away, maybe.
Yes, well.
Because we were under the protection of him.
And just as a reminder, they totally did see you when you were invisible.
Yeah, I don't understand how that happened because, yeah, what?
So it wasn't that they saw you, it's that they knew of you and that you were around somewhere. When they acquired you at the pass, is that what you're talking about?
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so it's not that they could see her, it's that they mentioned, and we know you're around somewhere type thing. Comment.
Oh, that's right, because they had been watching us.
Because they had been watching you, so they knew there was another individual. But you might interpret it as maybe they saw you or smelled you instead of relying on sight. There's always possibilities, right?
in addition, the likelihood of one person staying alive in the desert all alone with as many creatures and obstacles as this desert seems to have is very unlikely. So, on the chance that you would have gotten away just by yourself, it would be safe to bet that you wouldn't make it out alive.
You underestimate me. I get what you're saying.
No. I mean, they don't know you, which is why if that one person gets out, then it doesn't make a difference because statistically speaking, it's unlikely. However, they don't know you. So.
I think at this point we're just arguing a hypothetical within a hypothetical. Janelle didn't die. we don't need to run. Roach is still here. Let's talk about this adoption.
Yeah. So
yes, does it hurt? What kind of a ritual is it? What are the tenets of their religion? Do they have any customs we need to know about? Are there any conflicts with the gods that we worship here?
So, you guys can use one of your 2 knowledge things to just for the Baron to just know what the adoption thing is, if you would like.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
I mean, we're here with the Sand People. Now it's time to use the Sand People knowledge.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so he goes ahead and says, well, it's actually quite an honor. There's a couple things involved with it, so you may want to consider if you wish to accept. I do not believe if you refuse that it'll be looked on as a slight, as it should be as a serious decision to make. But that phone loves you, Derek.
It really does. Yeah, no, today is going great.
3 cardboard.
I have 2 dogs and like 2 cords coming off of it too. So if they even come close, it just falls out of propriety.
Yeah. So the Baron goes, yes. Adoption is a ceremony that takes place in which you basically slice, not a deep slice, but basically just a small cut on your finger, and you ritually press the fingers together with the one adopting you, in this case Danelle, to show that your blood is mingling and that you are one with the tribe. See, I believe there is some salt that is exchanged and some sand that you are to eat, which you can certainly do. It won't, you just gotta swallow sand. Not the easiest of things, but that is part of the tradition. It is something to take carefully because the blood of a sandfolk could have temporarily negative effects on your constitution.
Are they diseased?
No, it's just their bodies are different. They're not quite the same as us. That's why they eat foods that would be poisonous to us, but it's not to them. I don't understand that's not something that is my specialty, but that's what's been explained to me. But anyways, after this adoption ceremony, you are considered you're now nestlings, and you're obligated to fight beside each other and sworn to avenge each other's deaths. And the adoptee is a full-fledged member of the sponsor's tribe now.
Do you think that we would have to go to measures of those kinds of measures in order to get their help in entering the city? Or do you think at this point
it would certainly make it easier, but I don't know that it'd be required. You all performed very admirably, so they definitely look at you as not weaklings, which is good because they might just decide to be done with us if we were not worthy.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll do it. I don't have parents. Now I'll have a sandfolk chieftain for a dad.
That's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool dude.
Does it mean we could like come and go as we please, or are we stuck here?
Well, the same folk definitely travel at times, so you would not be required to stay here, but it would definitely be expected of you if you heard of the death of Denal or a great fighting among his tribe, that you would be expected to either avenge or come to the aid of.
And what happens if we don't hear about it because we're 3,000 years in the future?
He laughs. Says, well, probably nothing.
I mean, really, if we never go, if we are adopted and we never go back, then what are they going to do?
I like probably nothing. Probably nothing makes sense. Yeah.
It would be if you did not come to them and then they ran across you, they would probably attack you. If you did not come to the aid or seek the revenge.
I'm not
So
gonna
as
do
long
it.
as we never go back to the deserts, we're all good.
This is too much commitment for me. I don't know.
Well, it sounds actually pretty cool.
What do you think, Talia? Do you want to do it?
Kinda. But also, I'm pretty sure that, well, I don't know. I don't know if, were they talking about me too?
He nods his head. It seems that he was speaking to the group as a whole.
Well, I mean, I don't see why not. But the whole blood making you weaker for a time, that's a little concerning. I'm actually very concerned about that.
It's not a guaranteed thing. It's just something that I've heard sometimes happens. It's not a prolonged, agonizing ordeal.
She kind of leans into Brother Richard and she says, Brother Richard, have you seen my look?
He chuckles a little bit. He says, I will be here to provide some restorative properties if needed. I mean, it's not like you're going to have a limb fall off or something. And looks over at Roach.
I mean, you never know. I could lose my head.
That would be very extreme.
I meant more in the metaphorical sense. Never mind. It was a bad joke.
Does your head fall off sometimes? He asked Roach.
No, that needs to stay attached. That's like the one thing.
Oh,
Stay on.
good to know.
You can try to catch me. I'll be ready. Now I'm definitely going to be ready.
Oh, gosh.
I think I'm gonna... Y'all recoup. I'm just gonna do a quick perimeter check.
Sure.
Make sure no one's just standing out there waiting to attack us again, just to be safe. Then I guess let's get some rest.
Rest is good. I'm tired.
Was there some other information you desired to know?
Well, Talia wants to know what are their tenets. Are there any gods that they specifically worship, or rituals that might be not the nicest.
Right. Yeah.
She is full of questions because if she's gonna join this tribe, she wants to make sure she's not like joining a tribe of people that she's against fundamentally.
Right. So yeah, you could definitely use that last use of information to get a lot of that background information.
Well, I don't want to use it without everybody else, but she would ask these questions.
I'm actually cool with that. The implications.
Yeah, some of
Of
that
the tribe.
information would be useful to all of you, I think.
Yeah, because we're learning more than just about the ritual, but also about the tribe itself, especially if they're going to be escorting us to the city of the gods. I think that gives us a pretty decent amount of information. So I vote yes.
Sure. So, yeah, the Baron goes on to like talking about things, and so this is kind of the information you get through the night as he explains some of the information he has. So they tend to be desert and cliff dwelling type of folk. They're organized into tribes that are based on blood ties, which makes the adoption ceremony make sense too. All the warriors are governed by a strict code of tribal honor that places a premium on martial conduct. So cool. Tribes are governed by a council of elders. They administer justice and choose a war chief who serves for life. So that's Danelle, is the current war chief. The only penalty the council recognizes is decapitation. If an act doesn't deserve decapitation, it isn't a crime. The accused has the right to confront his accuser. If the elders can't decide, a trial by combat, always to the death, may be called for. I don't know that you get that. Why don't Eris roll me your logic? I think in this case, to see if, like, in the things that he describes, you can maybe gather this tidbit.
Any advantage or disadvantage?
I think since he's giving a lot of stuff, you can have at least one advantage.
Give one advantage. Alrighty, 27.
It's pretty good. The way that he describes stuff and the things that they eat and stuff, you get the... and I don't know how you might know this, but you get the sense that they are more silicone-based humanoid species rather than carbon-based. In youth, they tend to have thick leathery skin that's smooth and green, but darkens to a slate gray or black with age, which you've seen in some of the. So Danelle is a little bit more, slate gray in color, and so was the guy who picked you up at the desert scene. And sometimes you can see silicone crystals on their skin, which helps harden their skin to make them have essentially armor of sorts in their skin. Yeah, that stuff.
So cool.
Of course, all sand folks have the forearms, but humanoid in appearance. They're typically nomads who move around. They live by plunder or by acting sometimes as caravan guards. But all... no, that's not... Yeah, I already told you that. Martial prowess. Sandfolk pride themselves on being good liars, though they are scrupulous and honest when dealing with their own tribal members. So if you're not of their tribe, they'll tend to lie to you. Outsiders are considered fit prey unless they are under the protection of an elder. Sandfolk consider manual labor and commerce demeaning and believe that fighting is the only decent activity for a warrior. They are practical, though, and will trade for what they cannot take by force or cunning. their laws tend to be draconian, and they only recognize decapitation. I already told you that. Yep, always to the death. And Sandfolk speak their own language and a broken form of common. So that gives you a lot of insight there. So if you were adopted in their tribe, they would be far more honest with you than otherwise.
Would we also know, is Denal an elder, or is that something separate from being like the chief?
He could be an elder and a war chief, but the council of elders is a specific thing. So technically he's not part of that since he's the war chief.
Okay. And do we have any idea what the lifespan is?
Oh, the lifespan. Let's see.
Since he serves for life, and since we're also concerned about...
usually it's about 10 days is their life. No. Does it say anything about their age here? I mean, I imagine it's a human or more than human. So they're pretty...
Well, we're not talking like elf lifespan.
No, I don't think so. But let me see if any of these things mention age. Yeah, it doesn't really...
So, it does sound like at least one of us should join the tribe, but...
there's what other interesting information that he provides for you. The Sandfolk alternate between male and female. With the onset of extreme summer heat triggering a change of sex. This happens to all of them except for pregnant females.
That's very interesting. Anyways, hold on, you just blew my mind with that. I really like that detail. That's so cool. Anyways, Talia says, but you know, they really care about like manual labor and war and stuff like that, and I don't think that I would do very well in the tribe, and they might not take me seriously, but Orion might actually have a chance at being considered an actual part of the tribe.
I think if nothing else, I have no problem going through this ritual. I think the responsibility level is probably pretty low, considering we'll be millennia past this tribe's existence, likely. We'll probably never come back this way, and if it means that they'll actually deal with us honestly and not rob or kill us, I'm more than willing to put a little cut on my finger.
I think it's something that you could still do, Talia, if it's... it seems something you were very interested in doing. And you certainly were very helpful in that battle. You did fall at one point, yes, but you have still been instrumental in several battles with your abilities.
I suppose so. Hello, kitty. Jump straight up. I am not in Italian 9 today, apparently. Well,
it's totally up to you. I mean, to be fair, you did get back up in the last battle. You were part of the finishing blow. I think you're more than worthy to be considered a warrior if that's something you want to be considered. But It's comes down to who you want to be.
I don't necessarily want to be a warrior, but it's kind of nice that someone thinks I'm capable of it. All my life, I've just been a ward, someone to look after and make sure they're doing the right thing, and got to make sure Talia's ready for her studies, and got to make sure she's not getting hurt. And well, finally, someone thinks I can do something, especially something physical. I mean, look at me, I'm tiny.
I think you've traveled thousands of years in the past. You've survived dragons, sandfolk, frogmen, flying metal men, explosions. I think you've proven yourself. I think when we get back, things will probably be a little different. In a good way.
She kind of nudges him. She's like, thanks, Orion.
So yeah, totally up to you if you want to get some weird four-armed people blood.
Let's do it.
All right.
So did you want to do a perception roll, Casey, as you exit at some point and check around and then come back?
Casey's chill, but Roach sure would.
Roach.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So you definitely see there is a presence of the Sandfolk patrolling around. Some of them on their camarillas, a few on horses. So they definitely seem to be extra patrolling since their war chief was attacked. There's some guards posted outside his tent, as well as some nearby your tent as well. Of course, your tents are close to each other anyways. But there doesn't seem to be anything else besides the bodies as you look around. How far out are you going to go?
Past the last perimeter line, but not by more than a yard or so.
All right. So like at one point you kind of patrol the area where the intense fighting had happened. And yeah, it doesn't seem like it seems like there was a lot of distance shooting rather than melee that was occurring, at least initially before they seemingly retreated.
Oh yeah. If I have reason to go further out, then I'll turn invisible and I'll start stealthing my way to the previous battle scene to see what happened there.
Yeah, so it definitely just seems like there was some back and forth shooting that happened. Either the bodies have already been taken care of, or there weren't very many bodies in this area. As you can see lots of like the footprints where the froggies had been. It definitely seemed like they had a decent sized force, but they pulled back and left.
Do any of the bodies from over there or over there, they have any extra of those packs with the red lines on them?
So you don't find any bodies. The only bodies were the ones that came in for the assassination. The ones you guys killed.
Yeah. Do any of those also have?
Did we already roll for that, or did we not?
I remember y'all just straight up ending.
Yeah,
the
I
session.
think just ended it.
Yeah.
So I think, you went out fairly soon, so they might still be dragging off some of the bodies. The swords are interesting to you. They're pretty mundane swords, but it looks like they've been, based on what you do, you kind of recognize it looks like there was some sort of poison on the swords.
Yeah.
Coating them.
Yeah, there was.
We found that out.
Yeah, which
Don't worry.
which probably isn't good anymore because it's had enough contact with the air and stuff like that. I think they were in those. Let me double check there. because their AC was pretty hard. Yeah, so they did have some of those suits. So roll your presence or an exploding d6. See how many decent battery packs or how used the battery packs are that are in these things.
There you go. 5.
Okay. Let's see. There were, I think, 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So a couple of the battery packs look like they're damaged from the assaults that occurred to their armor. A lot of the armor is cut up. I think there's one suit that looks like you could keep it and utilize it. So one more of these god armors, and then 2, the battery pack in that plus 2 more have some charge in them. So you've got one suit and 3 partial batteries.
I will put the batteries in my back pocket, and I will attempt to drag the suit of armor to the tent where we're all hanging out.
Sure, yeah. So
I think I'm still invisible too, so it's just this armor that's moving along the sand.
well, I mean, the guards will obviously take notice of that if it's just
Yeah.
invisible versus you. So they would be drawing their weapons and walking over very quickly towards the armor that's just moving on its own.
And then I'll remember that I'm invisible, and I'll
Okay.
turn invisible again. I'm like, oh, sorry.
They,
Of course I happen.
they seem hesitant at first, but then kind of recognize you and spoils of war and all that. So they let you drag it into the tent. So you guys see Roach come in with another one of those suits of armor, Orion. And I will say you did see some of them that were patrolling that had the shoulder
Cannon.
staff, right? They had a staff instead of a wand.
Yeah, I think he's at least going to wait until day to maybe approach any of them about that. But he's definitely interested in the armor. Is this the same as what he's wearing?
Yeah, it's essentially the same as what you already have.
Okay. Well, this works out nicely.
I've also got 2 thingamajiggers.
Thingamajigger's also good.
Immediately pick them up and start examining.
Yeah, they've got some decent charge, so you could either use them to charge up another battery pack more, since you've kind of figured out how to do that now, or just use them to replace.
I think what I'll do is I'll try to consolidate into like 3 or 4 different batteries among each size battery, and then all the rest can just, we'll do something with them. I don't know.
Sure.
So as far as the armor goes, we've already established that, like, it if like Luthka were to wear it, it wouldn't really work as far as the shape changing that the armor is. Like,
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
it would not it would not do well with shape changing.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
Roach.
basically, even though the armor is heavy, once you have it on, it doesn't give you any sort of slowdown in speed. It gives you the equivalent of 4 armor, I believe is what I said.
Roach, you found the armor. I guess you have first dibs if this is something you have interest in.
If I have first dibs, then I would want to give it to Talia, actually, if we have the battery power for it, because both of us are going to be in the same predicament if we're stuck in it and it runs out of power. But I can evade. I have tactics.
Oh, I mean, I can power it myself, essentially.
There you go.
All right, I'll wear the armor.
You're gonna be a warrior soon. Warriors wear armor.
And it's
I
not
guess so.
it's not like plate mail where it's like super bulky and big. It is still pretty big, but it's a bit more synthweave type of thing.
I'm specifically imagining one of the armor sets in like Mass Effect with the mesh.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what those look like.
None of you would be aware of it, but this is also airtight for, if you were in space.
Ooh.
Think almost like a Marvel DC superhero where it has like that kind of almost like hexagonal
Mhm.
kind of pattern to it,
Right.
like a Batman suit.
This one's a little bit more universal, so it's not form-fitting. The one that Denal has is very well fitted to his form, though. Yeah, so
Iron Man suit.
let's find out how much lethal damage you guys recover during the night. You'll get Brother Richard helping, which I don't think he has some too, but that's not that big of a deal for what he has. So he has a 7, so you get to recover 7 additional lethal, which means a minimum of 8, but 7 plus whatever your fortitude is.
Yay, I'm back to full health.
I don't think, yeah. The Baron did not get hit at all. So,
Nope, just me and Roach.
yeah, so how is everyone sitting?
I'm perfectly fine.
100% again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was only 3 lethal down. That was it. I think Brother Richard managed to heal me quite a bit during the fight.
Right. Is anybody still suffering from any levels of fatigue? That's been fully restored, I'm sure, at this point, but I couldn't remember if somebody still was. All right, so yeah, you guys get your rest, feeling way better for some of you in the morning, and we'll go ahead and go on break here and be back in about 10 minutes and see what happens in the morning and who actually does the adoption. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes. You can use this time to go check out the Discord and join some of the conversation that goes on over there. Be back soon. There we go. And we are back. City of the Gods, part 2 for today. So the party has had a chance to rest, recover some of their deeper wounds thanks to the skilled hand and eyes of Brother Richard as you go about your sleep and get rested for the next morning, where a potential adoption ceremony is to take place. Which actually I should bring that up. Cool. There we go.
Oh, I forgot to ask, is there anything special I should be wearing for this?
No, I just your normal clothing is fine. I mean, if you wear that new suit of armor, it would probably, help you look more impressive.
Wouldn't that interfere with the whole bloodletting thing?
I think the gloves come off.
Okay. Okay. We'll do this then. I'll put on the armor.
All right, so you guys probably help her get in the armor because it still takes like probably 10 minutes to get it all on or whatever.
I'm sure it looks comical trying to cram Tiny Talia into this armor.
Get a little bit of Back to the Future where after you put it on, it kind of, resizes a little bit. It's like bunched up in the middle because it's such a shorter person and all that. But it actually doesn't look too bad. And like as you're putting it on, you can feel the weight of this Talia. But as the pieces connect and the battery activates, it suddenly feels a lot lighter and easier to move around in.
Oh, this isn't half bad. Okay, we got this. We got this, Ryan, right? Yeah, we got this.
A little bit.
And you're not sure, but it feels like maybe there's a slight breeze inside the suit every now and then, which helps make it a little bit cooler for you.
Beautiful.
So yeah, you get your suit, and you guys come out. You end up having breakfast and stuff like that, and end up gathering. The tribe is gathered around, and Denal's in the middle, and so who has decided to go forward with the adoption?
Talia steps forward.
No Ryan steps forward.
Okay.
I turn invisible.
Okay.
Will
And
not
for
be tied down.
what was that, Luthka?
Liska will not be tied down
Sure.
to anything.
What about Glamis? Does Glamis come forward for the?
Absolutely not.
I don't know if the Baron. I think the Baron would, but I don't know that I want to force that upon the NPC or not.
Roll for it.
Hey, yay! My mouse stopped working. 1 second.
Maybe don't roll for it.
I think you can tab until you get to the right window, and then
There
you just
we
use
go.
the keyboard.
No, it's just I've been meaning to do something with my computer and I haven't done it yet. So every now and then my mouse just stops communicating and I have to unplug it and plug it back in. Yay for being lazy. Anyways, so yeah, I think the Baron steps forward. He'll do it with you guys. Brother Richard hangs back. So the three of you step forward. There's Sandfolk speech that happens. There's some cheering from the Sandfolk, and then so he'll probably go up to the Baron first. There's a nice impressive looking dagger. There's a slit on the thumb and presses the thumb together. Then some salt is somebody's standing on the side with two bags. One's filled with salt, one's filled with sand, and so each of them take a pinch of sand, eat it, take a handful or pinch of salt, just a pinch of salt, and then a handful of sand and eat it. So Baron chews on the sand and then manages to swallow it down. And then we'll come to you, Orion, for the same thing. So
Yeah, I think Orion's gonna, offer out the bottom of his palm, which is a little less scaly, a little easier probably to cut through. And
Okay.
just try to really like push the sand and salt to the back molars and really try to pass it.
yeah, tasty. And
Yeah.
then Talia, it's your turn. So
Talia takes off a glove and offers her thumb and does the same.
So, what I need all of you to do now, including the Baron, is go ahead and roll your fortitude.
Gag reflex save.
Well, actually, I probably should do that to see how well you can. So, fortitude to see. Well, fortitude or will to see how well you do at swallowing sand. And then fortitude for second for your mingling of blood.
So yeah, Casey for Orion, both fortitudes, and I can't see the roll, so let me know if I
Oh,
miserable,
right.
because I have
Wow. Eris,
22 to get the sand down,
you have no trouble getting that sand down.
and then 19.
Okay.
You get anything?
Talia is extremly determined at this point. She is not going to let the sand people see any weakness in her at this point. She's
Right.
like, no, I'm gonna get the sand down.
I think Orion has the perk resilient if he fails, but
Okay,
Right.
it's an if you fail thing. All right.
yeah.
Okay, so first one's 22.
Okay.
And the second one is 27.
Okay, yeah, you guys are both pretty good. You are not poisoned by the Sandfolk blood. Let's see how our intrepid Baron does. Okay. He struggles maybe a little bit with the sand part. And he has little problem with he rolled a 14 and a 32, Derek, for your info. Talia got a 22 on her will and a 19 on her fortitude.
Talia's got actually a pretty decent will.
Which I think kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, you all are fine. You don't have to take any sort of damage or banes. So you kind of feel a little bit of stinging at the place where the blood mingles, basically. But the Sandfolk blood does not have any adverse effects on you. The Sandfolk people, they kind of cheer, and there's a little bit of a celebration, some food. Of course, they give you food that they know is not poisonous to you, because the food that they eat normally, and Baron told you this when you first entered, to explain why he was eating food differently than you guys were. But their food would be poisonous to your system, basically. So there's some feasting and some food and cheering. Is there anything you want to do during that time?
Talia actually, now I know that they said that nobody would do anything bad, but Talia isn't completely convinced that nobody betrayed them at all.
Sure.
So she's going to keep a special eye out for anybody who looks like they're not happy at all with the adoption and the fact that Donnell is still alive.
Okay, I guess roll perception to see how much you can read some of the Sandfolk.
Not well at all. I got a 7.
Yeah, their facial features, you're not quite sure, since you haven't been around them enough to fully distinguish. Like at first you think there's a lot of people, but then you're like, well, no, I guess it's just the way that their face looks, and so you're just uncertain.
They're just not really happy people, I mean, they're very warlike, so they're super happy, smiling on the inside, and they're just not. They're not capable of showing it.
I mean, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm sure they're really happy. It's fine.
yeah. So yeah, you guys partake in that, and at one point, as things are wrapping up, it's still morning time, and Danelle approaches your group, and he says, actually, let me double check. Yeah, roll good on that.
By the way, at some point during festivities, Broach will have walked up to Talia with some pigmented foodstuffs and done war paint on her face, and then held her at arm's length a gun, and then moved on.
Talia is really excited about this.
So yes, you now have some war paint on your face. A few of the sand folk kind of nod at you approvingly at the fiercer looking face.
And then she turns to Ryan and beams up at him. Look, I'm a real warrior now.
Oh yeah, you're truly terrifying.
I mean, grrr.
Of course, I think as you say that, Orion, you remember how in one battle the ribbons of light tore apart somebody.
Yeah, rip somebody apart, or that time that they immobilized an entire rock, or saved us from a dragon. Yeah, no, he knows she's actually terrifying. Yeah.
So yeah,
ones you have to watch out for.
Yep. Always watch out for the quiet ones. Yeah, as it's wrapping up.
Quiet.
Well, Denali approaches you and says, "We are getting ready to do a raid on the City of the Gods. I was wondering if you would like to join."
Oh, well, of course. We would love to. What were you looking for?
Well, just useful items that we can find in there. We've certainly augmented some of our equipment from successful raids into the place. There's a glint, Orion, and you turn your head and you see somebody walking with a big staff on their shoulder.
I'm actually gonna point and say, is that something you've gotten from there?
Oh yes, it's quite an effective staff of Sunflame.
You don't have any extras laying around anywhere, do you?
Brother Richard laughs in the background.
Talia gives a snort too.
There's a high chance we might find some in there. Have you ever used one before?
That in particular? No. The smaller ones. Yes. Effectively, yes.
Would you like to try one out?
Please, yes.
Ryan's having a great day.
So yeah, he brings one of the warriors that has it over, and you guys kind of go up a cliff or something, and so he hands it to you. So this thing is very much kind of like, for us, the players and the viewers, very much like a bazooka type thing looking. Let me pull it up here, make sure I got the stats right on this lovely heavy blaster, our staff of Sunflame. This device actually looks more like an unwieldy club than a staff. The smooth, dense, dark gray substance from which it is manufactured is studded with arcane bumps and bulges and is broader and heavier at one end, tapering to a thin tube at the other. Actually, it looks a little bit like a vacuum cleaner to me, but it's the
good old Greyhawk illustration.
Yep, it's the one on
it's a shop vac. The shop vac
Yeah.
handle.
Yeah, there we go.
It is.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So, yeah, so that's what you see. And I'll pull up the stats that I transferred for those. Let's see. One of these soldiers had it, I believe. Oh, no. It's one of the sand folk. Where are they? There we go. So, yeah, you'll... Oh, well, you can't roll because you're still not there. Cool. So, this one has a range of 250 feet on it, which is pretty good. So, I'll go ahead and roll this for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm at 57% now, so it'll probably be like, when the show's over, I'll have a full fully loaded up.
So you just roll a 35. So
I'm intentionally aiming where there's no life by the definition of the mean of the term. I'm aiming at like a sand dune or
there's
something.
This small oasis, and you just hit it directly, vaporize all the light. No. So you shoot out, and it's bigger than what the blaster is that you shot, right? The wand of Sunflame. So you see a bigger sphere shoot out from it. It lobs out, and just as it's about to like hit the ground, before it hits the ground, it explodes. It's a bigger radius, which I don't think I mentioned on that. But normally the wand of Sunflame is either 10 or 15, right, on the cube.
Yeah, I think it was 10.
Yeah, well, it can be either one. You can shoot it with less. This one is 25 feet area, which I did not write on that, but so it's a much bigger cube, right? So bigger area, it detonates in the air instead of on contact with the ground, and you just see this big blast of flame roiling out.
This is the best gift I've ever gotten. And he's just gonna like kind of mutter under his breath. He's gonna go, "Thanks, Dad."
You also hear a disembodied voice standing next to Glomus that just says, "Well, that's gratuitous."
Somebody coughs in the distance, compensating. But yeah, so the Staff of Sunflame, it rolls with an attribute score of 8 in energy. So it's a little bit more potent, because actually that roll could have been a lot better. But yeah, so it is quite a bit more than the regular. But we'll take care of that as we go. So yeah, you guys have been invited to join the raid. They could be ready today to leave right now, because the Sandfolk are always ready. But if you guys wanted another day to get yourselves ready, if there's any planning or prep or resting that you needed to do, you could do that, or you could head out with him right now.
I don't need any resting. We were planning on just going straight up there anyways. It kind of stopped us, so.
Is Daynal looking okay? And is considering he had so much.
Yeah, he's definitely looking a lot better.
Okay.
Does he look like back to his peppy self, or does he still look a bit injured?
There's still, I mean, when you take 24, that's a lot of lethal damage, but he's definitely recovered a lot of it. The wounds are not as deep on his skin and stuff that you can see.
Oh, well, I've got so many things that I need to prepare before we go into the city. I think we just need one more day just to make sure that we're all ready to go. All of us and all of our stuff is all perfectly tip-top shape and ready to go. Just One day.
All right, so you guys
I'm
are
trying to get Donnell to rest a little bit more.
are the rest of you in agreement with that, or
Yeah, I think if he notices that Talia is at least concerned, then yeah, she's a little more perceptive than Orion. He'll take her lead on that.
I'm stuck in between neither agreeing nor disagreeing. I get what she's trying to do, but at the same time, we're in a race with the frogs. So every second kind of counts. But what do I really care?
I mean, I think the frogs are probably lost that race when they all died last night.
I'll die. Only some of them.
That's true.
It is Luthka's opinion that frogs generally don't do well in deserts, so
that's fair. Yeah, so basically, you guys can rest one more day, and then in the morning you can head out. So, is there any interactions you want to have before you just head out in the morning, or we can just jump right to that?
I would love to catch my group away from Danelle and the Sandfolk, and just be like, "Yo, they're gonna do a raid. Our objective is to make friends." There's a little bit of a conflict in the mission there, isn't there? If they catch us stealing their shit, they ain't gonna want to work for us.
Well, I also need to rescue my brother.
Yeah, that. Also.
Oh, am I there? I'm not there.
Yeah, you're. Because she made sure everybody was together.
Well, so this is the thing, though, is that it doesn't seem at all like they want to be friends at all.
Well, let's think about it. We've had one interaction, maybe, with servants of the gods, those metal flying men.
Yeah, and they came and destroyed everything, took someone, and left.
True. So let's think about what all our goals are here. We need to get the brother back. We need to potentially establish some sort of relationship with the gods. And we need to bring back items from the city of the gods. Am I forgetting anything?
I think that third one isn't exactly a necessity, but it is a preference. Very strong preference.
Well, I think both of the second and third are both optional. I think the real priority is the brother. And I think getting back to our own time even comes maybe side and side with that.
Yes, I'm running out of books to write in.
She's running out of books, people.
Have that now, can't we?
Of course not. What else would I take notes in? Silly. But also, I mean, so I know our primary mission is to establish a relationship, hopefully a good one, but from all evidence, they don't want one at all. Or if they do, it's a hostile one.
I don't know. I think it could have been our initial encounter with the metal guys. That could just be something like the old saying about what the lion doesn't pay attention to the ant that steps on, something like that. You ever hear that? Something's in an entirely different league, so why would they waste their precious time with something that is so far beneath them? And we were so far beneath them, but now we have their gear. Perhaps it's going to be like the sand people, and we just need to, prove ourselves to be more than ants.
You make a very valid point. In addition, we do need to get there in one piece, and I think traveling with the sand folk is probably the best way to do that. If we break off from them once we get there, that's still an option.
That's true. And then we can try to see if we can find someone in charge in the chaos.
And the Sandfolk have gotten enough stuff that they seem to know their way around. They might even be able to direct us to areas that they don't normally go to because that's where the gods are.
Yeah, are there actually gods here? Or is it just called the City of the Gods and there's just people with really, really advanced technology?
Well, my brother was studying it, but it's definitely some very interesting arcane technology magic going on here. But we've never seen such a big thing before. So,
Well, I mean, technically there are other planes of existence, so they could have somehow shifted from one plane of existence to our plane of existence, carrying their technology and their different kinds of magics with us. However, maybe they can't even get back, and that's what they're working on right now. Or maybe they somehow found the technology or made it or established it and just have decided that most people aren't worthy of it or can't have it for whatever reason.
Honestly, both of those descriptions sound exactly like gods.
Well,
Brother Richard laughs.
no.
I mean, gods exist on a separate plane. We know that. People have seen
but
the gods, and they give us gifts of magical items, and they normally don't like to share those things. They don't really care about the normal folk. I mean, whether they're capital G gods or not, they're still worshipped as them. And really, when it comes down to it, what's the difference?
There's a big difference. I don't think right now is the time for a theological discussion, though.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, I guess technically any time's a good time for a theological discussion when you're in the desert and there's a lot of things trying to kill you and you're about to do a raid on people that might kill you as well. And if you turn on them, the other people that you're raiding with might kill you.
Hey, that was my next point.
Theological conversation is probably a good idea. What?
No, you just touched upon my next point. It's like if we leave the Sandfolk off on our own thing, aren't they going to be pissed off about that?
So, based on the stuff that the Baron told you, it's okay to divide and conquer, for sure. So it might be okay.
We'll have to make sure we bring back. Oh, sorry. We'll have to make sure we bring back something for the Sandfolk. If we do break apart from them, we'll have to bring something back for them, especially something that we haven't seen from here yet. Something really, really good. But we actually might be able to play both sides of this if we're very, very, very careful about it.
Can you all be very careful?
Absolutely not.
There's two facts that stand. The Sandfolk are going to raid with or without us, and we need to get to the City of the Gods regardless. It just seems like we might as well, instead of coming, an hour after them and going, "Oh, fancy meeting you here," we might as well just travel with them.
Oh, I'm not suggesting not traveling with them or anything. They definitely are ticket in for sure. I think we all understand that.
Okay.
My only concern is the point at which we break off from them, and then coming out of the city, they're going to intercept us immediately. So if we do wrong by them, then we're going to have to face them and the
I
consequences
see your point.
directly after.
Very, very valid concern, and I think maybe Talia's idea of paying tribute is a valid idea as well.
That is a solution.
I forgot to mention this, but when he invited you to do the raid, he mentioned that half of any of the alien devices found would be provided to your group and the other half to his.
Okay, I don't think I have any more questions left.
So, what exactly, assuming that we get in here and we find someone in charge, what do we tell them exactly? That the rest of the world wants to contact them and, you really should try talking sometime?
The only requirements, this is Brother Richard, the only requirements are that, to attempt to set up communique. You all won't be speaking on behalf of the barony or anything like that, but just to survive getting here and make contact and mention that we are desiring to form some sort of alliance against the Froggies.
Oh, that might work. Part of me wants to say we might be able to even introduce some talking terms between them and the Sand People, but I feel like that's almost too much to hope. But it could actually make the survival of both their civilizations more of a reality. Then again, I haven't heard of either of them in our time, so it's probably not going to work. At least that wouldn't work.
It's a nice thought, but as maybe a little overgenerous for a situation.
Well, I try to be an optimist,
It's good. It balances the whole group out. Because, yeah.
Luthka, do you have any opinion on this at all?
I don't care much for what happens to any of these civilizations personally.
Fair.
I mean, dependent on how disastrous these devices supposedly held by the City of Gods are, might be in our best interest to make sure they don't fall into anyone's hands. Because, things... We are talking about the future of the world where we come from and all, and things might get changed to the point that we won't exist if we meddle too much with such big guns.
It's a very good point.